welcome back. So today is Wednesday the 17th of March and it is Wednesday, so we are doing Word Class Wednesday. I love Word Class Wednesday, it's my fave. And Jeffrey has come to join us because he loves Word Class Wednesday too, don't you, Jeffrey? He's come to say hello. He says, what was that? He says, knowing about word classes makes you brainy. I agree, Jeffrey. So what do you think that the children should write their date and LO? And he's purring. He thinks that's a good idea. So can you pause the video for me, please? Write your date and learning objective really neatly at the top. And when you're ready, unpause the video and we'll get cracking. Okay, well done. So today is Word Class Wednesday, as I said before. And we are going to be revisiting some of those word classes that we've learned about in the past. And we know that word classes are really, really important in Year 4. And I find that it's a really good way to remember things more easily the more you practice. So that's what we're doing. We're going to reach into that back bit of our brain, and reach out all the information. And we're going to train our brains to do that. We're going to remember things. And the more you do that, the more that you reach into that deep, dark bit in the back of your brain to pull out a bit of information, the more often that you do that, the easier it gets. It's like anything. The more you practice riding a bike, the easier it gets. And the more you practice doing your word classes, the easier that gets too. So hopefully, by the end of Year 4, you've done loads of practice with word classes. Every Wednesday, maybe you might do Word Class Wednesday with me. And then you'll be like word class wizards, I think. That will be amazing. So what you might want to do, I've put a little knowledge organiser on the screen there for you. And you might want to pause the video. If you're doing this lesson in school, you can talk about this knowledge organiser with your teacher. And if you're doing this lesson at home, you can pause and look at the different word types, the different word classes, and see if you can remember any examples. There might be one or two on there that you struggle with, and that's totally normal. It's totally fine. So when I was your age, for example, I used to get confused between these two. Can you see? Adjectives and adverbs. I used to get confused between those two because they've both got ad at the beginning and I couldn't remember which was which. So take a moment to just pause and see if you can remind yourself of any of those slightly tricky ones, okay? Okay, so this is how our Word Class Wednesday is going to work this week. I would like you, please, to take your book and you might want to turn it sideways instead of having it, the normal way up. You might want to turn it, we call it in landscape rather than portrait. So you're going to set up your page to look just like how I have done it here. It's like a table, like a little grid that we're going to use today. Okay. When you've done that, unpause the video. Okay, now I'm going to help you with the first one. So I'm going to read the sentences with you. And what you're going to do with these sentences, you are just going to find the verbs. Remember, verbs are action words or doing words like jump, sing, shout, purr, maybe, if you're Jeffrey. He's purring at the moment. It's because it's his favourite lesson. He loves word classes. Okay? So you're just looking for the verbs, the action words. So, for example, the first sentence says, I like your smile. And the action there, the doing word, is like. So you're going to take the word like and you're going to put it in the right place in your grid. Okay? And you're just going to find the verbs for these sentences. So sentence 2 says, you are lovely. So your verb is are. So you're going to take the word and you're going to place it in the right space in your grid. Does that make sense? I hope so. So the last two you are going to do on your own, number 3 and number 4. And again, you are just looking for the verbs. So you might want to pause the video. I'll read them to you. Then pause the video to give you a bit of time to write them in the right space in your grid. So number 3 says, you make me happy. And number 4 says, Can we eat chocolate, please? So find the verbs and add them into your grid. Okay, when I move on to the next slide, the answers to these are automatically going to be there. So you can mark them straight away and see if you got them right straight away. And if you didn't get them correct, then don't worry, just have a chat with the people around you and see if you can figure out where you went wrong. So, the answers you should have had like, are, make, and eat. Now I'm going to show you some more sentences, and this time you don't need to worry about verbs. You are just going to be looking for nouns. Nouns are naming words, like phone, finger, cat. Okay, nouns are naming words. So I'm going to reveal the sentences and I'm going to read them for you. So, move myself up here so you can see the sentences. Sentence 1 says, my name is tricky to spell. Sentence 2 says, your diet is not going well. Look, you've just eaten a whole cake. And number 3 says, my silly cat scratched the sofa. Now be careful because there are, more than one noun in some of those sentences. Some of those sentences don't just have one noun in. You might want to pause the video because in a moment we're going to go on to the next slide and I'm going to reveal the answers just like before. Okay, so the ones you should have found were name, diet, cake, cat and sofa. Those were the things, the nouns. Now, I'm going to move a bit quicker now because I think you've probably got the hang of it. So this time you are looking for adjectives. And adjectives are describing words. They describe nouns. Well done. So your sentences are, I ran up the carpeted stairs without hesitating. Number 2 says, you called me so quickly, that was very kind. And number 3 says, my heart melted when I saw the cute kittens cuddling their loving mother. So if you need to pause the video, that's absolutely fine. Get those adjectives written down, and in a moment you will see the answers. Okay, so there are your answers there. Give yourself a tick if you manage to get those. And the next type of word we are looking for is an adverb, and adverbs describe verbs. So here are your sentences. I'm going to read them to you and give you the answers. Number 1, you calmly got a lovely first aider when I grazed my knee. Number 2, I screamed loudly and suddenly when I watched the scary film. And number 3, often I struggle with maths lessons. When you're ready, you can pause if you like. When you're ready, I will give you the answers. Okay, so the answers you should have had there were calmly, loudly, suddenly, and often. We've talked about before, not all adverbs have ly at the end. So I'm going to give you some more sentences. This time you're going to find the prepositions. Remember how I always say preposition? Okay, I ran over the grassy hill and through the dark tunnel. Number 2, you chopped a pile of vegetables on the wooden board and then put them in the freezer. And number 3, I put a scarf around my neck and went into the garden. Pause if you need to, and in a moment I'll reveal the answers. So there are your answers there. Well done if you managed to get those. This time we're going to look for conjunctions. Conjunctions are joining words that join two different parts of a sentence. We've done quite a lot about conjunctions, so I think you'll be great at this one. Okay, number 1, I like chocolate because it is yummy. Number 2, although it is cold, I'm going outside in my flip-flops. Number 3, do you prefer Scotch eggs or sausage rolls? Pause the video if you need a chance to write down the answers, and again in a moment I will reveal them. Okay, So those are the answers that you should have put into your grid. Well done if you got those. This time, my favourite, you guys are amazing at these, determiners. We did them earlier in the week, so I'm going to reveal the sentences. I'm going to read them for you. Okay, number 1, I ate 3 cakes and a chocolate bar. Number 2, you are an expert reader. Number 3, these puppies are adorable. And number 4, my house is messy. So pause if you need to, and then I'll reveal the answers. Okay, there are your determiners there. Give yourself a big tick if you got those. And the last word class we're going to be thinking about today is pronouns. Okay, pronouns. We've talked about pronouns before. They are words that we can use in a sentence to replace nouns. So instead of saying, Jeffrey got on the sofa, then Jeffrey purred, then Jeffrey meowed, I could say, Jeffrey got on the sofa, then he purred and he meowed. So it would be a way of making sure I didn't have to say Jeffrey, Jeffrey, Jeffrey all the time, because that gets a bit repetitive and boring. So pronouns are words that can replace nouns in a sentence. You guys are amazing at these because you've done them before. So I think you're going to do really, really well on this one. Are you ready? Okay, number 1. Has he remembered the homework? Has he remembered the homework? Number 2. Is there a way we can fix it? And number 3. Those aren't yours, they belong to me. When you're ready, unpause the video and I will give you your final set of answers. Okay, so there were the pronouns that you should have hopefully found some of those in the sentences that I gave you. Well done. That was a bit of a marathon word class Wednesday today. Your brain has had a really good workout. It's been really good for your brain to practice getting all of that information out. And we call it retrieval. It's like retrieving it out of your brain, and it's like training your brain to remember things. So you've done really, really well. Don't forget to send in pictures of your remote learning and have a wonderful day. I'll speak to you soon. Bye.